everyone. I'm Antoinette Rainone, and I'm here today to introduce a brand new show on OPTV, Ask the Mayor. As the name suggests, this is a program where the Mayor of Oradell, Dianne Didio, takes the time to sit down with us, answer our questions, and discuss the various issues facing our community. Hi, Dianne, and welcome.
Hi, Antoinette. How are you today?
Oh, I'm pretty good, thanks.
Good.
Dianne, this program was your idea, and I think a great one, basically to create a forum where residents can see you up close, get to know you, and most importantly, have an opportunity to ask you questions. Questions regarding Oradell.
Yes, Antoinette. Actually, I cannot take credit for this. It was really the brainchild of Nick Basink. He and I started speaking about this several months ago, and I thought it would be a great opportunity and a forum for our residents, not only to get to know me a little bit better, but to get to know our other borough officials, council people, fire chief, police chief, borough administrator, building department official, etc., and perhaps expand it into something more where people could get answers to questions that they just don't always know the answer to.
Right, sure. Last month, my son's 5th grade teacher at Oradell Public School, Miss Gina Strauss, invited me to speak to her class about journalism, and basically just as part of their writing curriculum. I spoke with them about people I've interviewed over the many years I worked at the Record newspaper. Their class assignment was to interview someone, preferably someone in Oradell, and then to write a profile on that person. So I asked them, what would you ask our mayor? And they came up with some pretty good questions to ask you. For this first show, I thought it would be fun for you to answer questions from some of our very youngest residents.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, this question is from Ryan. What made you want to be the mayor in the first place?
Well, Antoinette, that actually goes back to probably a time when I was a little bit older than a 5th grader, and I grew up in a town on the South Shore of Long Island, and I would walk to middle school every day. And on my way, I would pass this white colonial, which I thought was a mansion at the time, but in going back now as an adult, I realized it's a tiny house. But it had a white picket fence and beautiful flowers, and I always used to wonder who lived there. And eventually I found out that the gentleman who lived there was actually a lawyer, and he was the mayor of our town. And it was something that I thought about as a child, and I said, wow, maybe someday I could become a lawyer, and then maybe I could get elected as the mayor of my town.
That's
so
really something.
it really is. And it sounds so quaint and made up, but it's absolutely true. And I went to Fordham Law School, became an attorney, and sought elected office, and was fortunate enough to be elected by the people of Oradell to serve them. So
that's amazing. This is Mary's question. Who inspired you to be the mayor?
Well, I think it has to go back to that story I just told, but I think part of it too comes from an ability to serve others and a willingness to serve others. I realized from a young age that I was always willing to stick up for the underdog. Not so quick to stick up for myself, but I always seemed to have a mouth to stand up for those who needed my help. And I guess being a lawyer is part of that, and you know, serving in the community in many different capacities helped me to realize that I may do some good for the borough. So.
This next question is from my son Joseph. What do you need to do as the mayor?
Well, the mayor wears a lot of hats and has a lot of different jobs. The public typically sees the council meetings, which we set as mayor, I set the agenda. I run the meetings, make sure everything flows smoothly, everything gets done the way it should get done. But in addition to that, there's a lot of other jobs that the mayor does, and a lot of it is public relations. You go to ribbon cuttings for new businesses. I meet once a month with one group of mayors from the Pascack Valley. We are 10 mayors who have dinner together once a month to talk about the common issues that affect our municipalities and how best to deal with them. I meet with another group of mayors once a month as well for dinner, the Northern Valley mayors, another group of 10 towns to talk about similar things. And then once a month we have a breakfast meeting with the Bergen County municipal mayors, which focuses on legislation and things like that that can affect our municipalities and how best we can deal with it. One of my favorite jobs of mayor is performing weddings, and I just had the ability to do just that about a week or two ago. And it's always a nice event. People are happy and in a good mood, and nobody's angry at you.
Exactly, that's perfect.
It's wonderful.
That's very nice. Here's one from Ethan. He wants to know, do you make a lot of money as the mayor?
Well, Ethan, actually I don't. The mayor is paid what's called a stipend. It's $5,000 a year. The council people get $3,000 a year. And frankly, I look at it as a way to help me pay for some of the events that I get invited to as
Sure.
mayor. You get invited to a lot of dinners for charities and other civic organizations, and you have to pay for them. So
Right.
that helps
Sure.
to offset some of that cost.
Sure. Daniel wants to know, do you have any pets?
I do. I have a black Labrador Retriever who's 6 years old. His name is Bruno.
Oh, nice.
And before Bruno, we had a yellow lab who was named Bailey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Courtney asks, what is your favorite book to read?
And that's a tough one. I love to read. I really do. I don't often have the time to do it, but I couldn't say that there's one book that's my favorite. I think if I had to pick a genre, it would be historical fiction, because for me it's a way to learn and still enjoy a sort of a fairy tale aspect to what happened in history.
Right.
So recently I just finished Winter Garden, a book by Kristen Hanna about the siege of Leningrad. So it prompted me to look into that and learn more about that while engaged in the story.
Right. Nice. Question from Angelina, do you have a celebrity crush?
Well, Angelina, I don't want to disappoint you. I do not currently have a celebrity crush, but I have to tell you, in thinking about when I was in 5th grade, just about your age, I think my celebrity crush back then was David Cassidy, and I'm not sure you'll even know who that is.
She may not, but I do.
And then some of the others, of course, were Greg Brady on the Brady Bunch, which they may know because they're in reruns. And Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. It was just, that was the crush of my 5th grade days.
My sister was Davy Jones. So.
There you go. There you go.
So, let me see. A question from Amanda. If you lived somewhere other than Oradell, would you still want to be the mayor?
If I lived somewhere other than Oradell, yes, I think I would still want to be the mayor, or at least involved in my community in some meaningful way. It's just who I am and part of what I like to do. So I'd say yes.
Okay. And Caitlin's question, what is your favorite part about being mayor?
Well, I think I touched on that a little while ago. Favorite part, of course, has to be performing weddings. It's such a happy occasion. I also get a lot of self-satisfaction out of helping people who don't know where else to go for that help. You know, people who just don't know who to ask or where to get the help that they need. And as mayor, you have access to a lot of different resources, not only on the municipal level, but on the county and the state level, so you can often point people in the right direction. And that's a very satisfying part of the job.
Well, thank you to all the students of Ms. Ross's 5th grade class for such great questions.
They were wonderful questions.
And I do have one last question for you. You recently held a public open house on downtown design. This meeting was open to everyone, residents, property owners, and business owners. Oradell's downtown is obviously a big topic that we'll be talking more about in, our next episodes. But for now, can you tell us a little bit about this project and where we're currently at in the process?
Of course. This project actually started in May of 2016 when the council approved the funding to engage our borough planner to help us rewrite essentially our master plan. That process hadn't been undertaken in almost 30 years, and I felt that it was time to really take a look, because I am cognizant of the fact that our downtown does need to be invigorated. We need to attract businesses. More importantly, we need to be able to sustain them. And I thought that in conjunction with a re-examination of the entire master plan, we could benefit from the professional advice of our borough planner. And as many saw at the public charrette, they had some very good ideas, and maybe some not so good, but that was the purpose of inviting the public to come and comment on how to attract and sustain businesses that our residents need and want. Part of the challenge we have, and one of the biggest needs in our downtown, is a restaurant, a place where families could go after a school concert, after a graduation, after a Little League game, where the seniors could gather for lunch or breakfast or dinner. It's important to have that heart of your community. And a challenge with that is not having enough liquor licenses in our community. And that's a direct result of legislation at the state level. So we're trying to see if there's some changes that can be made there so that we could get an additional liquor license so that restaurateurs is encouraged to invest the significant sums of money that would need to be invested to open a restaurant. The public charrette we did have was the first of several. The borough planner collected all those little sticky notes. You may have seen them all over the posters. Mm-hmm. Yes, and he is condensing that down to a memo, which is going to be reviewed in the next couple of weeks with the master plan subcommittee. They will then report back to the full planning board at the next planning board meeting, which I believe is currently scheduled for August 1st. And at that point, we will set a date for another public charrette. I realize a Saturday morning is tough for some people to make it, so we're going to look for a weeknight to do it, and then we'll probably have a third public charrette after that, because there are other aspects to the master plan than just the downtown that we have to look at as well, and we want public input on.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you, Mayor, for taking the time to sit down with us. And a note to our viewers, if you have a question you'd like to ask the mayor, you can send an email to oradellaskthemayor@gmail.com. That's oradellaskthemayor@gmail.com.
Antoinette, I'd just like to add, if there is any other borough official, resident, member of the community who our residents would like to hear from, I would ask that they email that to that address as well, so maybe we could do a program about that.
Maybe we can have Post-its with all the questions as that. So, well, we look forward to more dialogue on our next Ask the Mayor, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.